Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be using loops and samples and layering and arranging techniques to create a piece of music. Okay, so first things first, we're going to open a sample library. This one's called NeoSoul 2. Inside it we've got folders which are what we call construction kits. Now inside each one of these folders we have a bunch of loops and samples that are going to work really well together. For example, this folder here tells us a number of very important details. It's folder number 16. This 101 stands for 101 beats per minute. This is really important to remember this number because what we're going to have to do in Pro Tools is adjust the tempo of the session to match the tempo of the samples. So we're going to beat match it. This E minor means all the samples here are in the key of E minor, and it's called Get Down. So if I double click this, inside the folder we've got our individual instrument stems. Right up the top we've got all of these stems put together in one WAV file. So we're not interested in this one, we're interested in the individual stems that we can arrange and layer how we see fit. So what you're going to do first of all, simply select them all, click, drag, drop them into your tracks pane in Pro Tools. Once you've done that, it creates a track for each one of the stems. What I want to do, I want to kind of shrink these tracks just so I can see them all on my window. If I place my cursor in between the tracks, I get this kind of up-down arrow. Now if I hold Alt, click, I can adjust them all like so. Okay, now as I said, at the moment, my session tempo is 120 beats per minute, which means if I click on one of these, you can see the bass loop here is 4 bars, 3 beats, 0.009. This isn't going to loop. Well, it's not, at the moment, we can see that our session is not beat matched to these loops, all right? We need to make sure each one of these loops is an exact number of bars, not bars and beats like they are at the moment. So to make sure they're an exact number of bars, I need to adjust the session tempo. If I click the little plus icon here and I change it from 120 beats per minute to 101, which is the tempo of the samples, and I hit OK, we can now see that the bass is exactly 4 bars, the drums exactly 2, piano exactly 8. All right. Really important to do this. Reason being is we are going to be working in grid mode, and grid mode means our cursor and our clips are going to snap to these grid lines. If I zoom in a little bit, we can see that my cursor is snapping to these grid lines. Now up the top here, each one of these grid lines is the equivalent of 1 bar. All right. Up here I can set my grid amount. For example, if I wanted my cursor to snap to minims, and so on. All right, at the moment, I'm just going to leave it at 1 bar. Now, what I want to do before I start arranging and just placing these loops wherever, I want to create a form. Form is, I want to create the structure so I can physically see exactly where my intro is, where my A theme is, where my B theme is, and so on. So I'm not going to start putting markers at the very start because I've got all my loops and samples here. I'm going to want to put my marker somewhere further down the session. It doesn't matter, I could put it here, I could put it here, but I don't want to start my song over here. So I'm just going to place my cursor here, I'm going to hit enter on the numpad, and I'm going to write in my first location, which is going to be intro. Now my intro is going to go for 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, and at bar 16, if I hit my enter again, this is where my A theme is going to start. Okay, so we can see here, intro for this length, A theme, I'm going to want to make it go for 8 bars, keep it symmetrical, and here I'll write a contrasting theme, which will be my B theme. Now my B theme is going to go for 4 bars, and then I'll go back to my A theme. Same deal, 4 bars, and you know what, I might just put a breakdown here, mix it up, and I might as well come back with a theme. 4 bars, outro can go here, and 4-bar outro and end. Okay, cool. So we can physically see that our piece of music has been mapped out with these markers. This is going to make arrangement so much easier. All right. Next step is I want to sample my stems. See what they sound like. See what's going to really suit an intro. For example, if I wanted to sample my guitar 2-part, I would simply solo it and then hit enter, which will bring my cursor back to the start, and space to play. Yep, sounds like a great intro if you ask me. So what I'm going to want to do, I'm going to grab my grabber tool, and I want to create another copy of this to place in my intro. All right, so to do that, I can simply click and hit Control D, and that will duplicate another copy of it. And notice how it's placed it end to end. I can simply click that one and place it here. Another way of creating another copy is if I hit Alt, click and drag, I can drag out another copy. One thing when you are placing your samples, you need to be really careful to make sure you're placing them at the start of each bar. All right, do not try and, well, I can only place it at the start of each bar because my grid is set to bars. But if I was at 8th notes at the moment, it's very easy to offset it slightly. You need to make sure that your loops are starting at the start of each bar. Okay. All right, so my A theme will go for this length. Now, obviously, I want to layer this these stems so they are interesting. All right, so I'm going to layer maybe some Rhodes keyboard on top. Alt, click, drag. Now my A theme sounds. Yeah, pretty cool. I'm going to want to put some drums with that, I think. Alt, click, drag. Now I can simply hit Control D a number of times. Let's have a listen to it. Yep, pretty cool, but it really needs some bottom end in there, so I'm going to grab some bass. Alt, click, drag, drag. Let's have a listen. This is the great thing about using loops and samples from construction kits, because they really do all work very nicely together. Now, what I'm going to want to do halfway through my A theme here, I want to create a little bit of variation with the drums. So I'm going to use some editing techniques. Okay, what I need to do, I'm going to make a smaller grid amount. There we go. Now I can just simply click and drag a little section here. If I hit Control D, let's have a listen. How easy was that? This is the great thing about working in grid mode. Everything is beat synced, all right? So all I did then, I simply grabbed 3 semiquavers and hit Control D a few times, and it's automatically put it in the beat, okay? Cool, so I'll go back to my 1-bar grid amount to make it easier to put in my B theme. B theme, I want it to be contrasting. The easiest way to make a contrasting theme is to use different instrumentation. So I'll put in some piano. Now, if you look at my piano loop, it goes for a length of 8 bars. So I'm going to want to shorten this up. I can do this a number of ways. I can simply grab the selector tool, click in the middle, B for break, and delete that part. Another way of doing this is I can use my trimmer extender tool. At the moment, it has a little clock icon on there. That means it's going to time compress it. I want standard like so. And when I place the mouse at either end, I get this kind of bracket icon. This means I can simply click and trim it up to the length I want it to be. Okay. So let's put in some guitar 2, Alt, click, drag, drop. So yeah, pretty cool, but I still want some rhythm in there, so I'll bring in my conga. Yep, sounds pretty good. back to my A theme. Once again, once I've got my themes pretty much mapped out, I can simply just alt-click, drag, and put them where they need to go. Pretty simple. What I want to do though is I want to create some variation. I don't want to keep my A theme identical to my original A theme. The thing about music, contrast variation is vital to making sure you've got an interesting piece of music. So I'll add a nice string patch to it. And this will actually work well going into the breakdown section as well. Now my A theme comes back here. Control D. I might even add some congas to that, make sure the variation is still happening. And you know what? Let's put some piano there and mix it up. And we can have a piano outro and maybe with some guitar. Okay, so just looking at this, we can see exactly how the form is created. Intro, A theme, B theme, A theme, breakdown, A theme, outro. We can see we're using layering. I'm not having a very busy intro with lots of instruments. I'm gradually introducing the instruments. We can see at my B theme, I've got contrast by using different instrumentation. Let's have a listen to it. Pretty simple, yet very effective.